Oh, it's so great to see so many of your faces. Oh, we miss you guys so much. And we are obviously super excited to be able to talk a little bit about, a roadmap and what that might look like in terms of moving back to, or moving forward into in-person services. What I want to say is that, we have spent hours and hours, hundreds of hours, I would say, over the last year, trying to work things out, reading the legislation, the small print, the blueprint, what we can and can't do. And we've made numerous plans over the last year or so, and then we've had to change them. We've made them and then we've had to change them. And so everything that I'm going to say to you now is up for some change. Obviously, it looks really promising at the moment, and the data is all moving in the right direction. But we've had to take into consideration a number of really complex issues. And I'm sure that you will appreciate, just over a year ago, we literally overnight had to work out how we were somehow going to still have some kind of connection with each other. And, I remember at that time the building was shut, St Albans was shut. We weren't even allowed to go in the building. And I think you'll remember me and Sarah were like filming ourselves on our phones. And wow, we've come a long, long way in quite a short space of time in terms of having an online presence. We know people have been healed through watching our services. They've been saved through watching our services. And we know that it's kept a gaggle of us together. I know some of us are exhausted with this online stuff, but what a blessing it has been that we have had the opportunity to still be the body of Christ and to come together, not always on a Sunday, but at different times during the week. It has been a real blessing and also a pretty steep learning curve. In me sharing some of the roadmap, I want to try and give some of the why as to some of the decisions that we've made. And I do want you to know that we have made the decisions based on what we have felt the Lord saying to us, and not maybe what everyone else is doing, although what everyone else is doing is great. We have prayed and fasted. Sarah said that earlier. The Lord has been speaking to us prophetically about the future and about maybe some of the ways we want to try and do some things differently or emphasize on different things into the new wine and the new wineskin that the Lord is preparing. And also, I suppose, just to say as well that we have the experience of having done that survey that we sent out to you guys, which was before Christmas, when we announced that we were going to do an evening gathering. And so to give you an idea, we realized after we did that service and leading up to, that survey, but leading up to doing that survey, we realized that there was a demographic of the church that had been very honest, and they'd said, look, we don't want to come to in-person services until this is all finished. And all the way along the line, we've really wanted to try and respect people's opinions. And there's been very strong opinions on both sides of the coin. No, we've got to gather. And there've been other people that have been very cautious and concerned about coming back together again. So we've took people's feedback on board. We also have taken feedback on the fact that we did do in-person services for a while, the evening service, and some of it was positive and some of it wasn't so positive, because people that maybe came to church because they wanted to see people and interact with people, they came to church and obviously there was no hospitality, there was a pretty poor welcome, they had to sit in a seat socially distant from other people, they weren't allowed to sing, there was no laying on of hands, and as soon as we finished, we had to usher people out the door. So some of what we did in the evening service, it didn't have all of the DNA and the culture of who we are. And I know some people really valued it, and I certainly did. But I also had to listen to some other people say how it made them feel even worse because they'd come feeling isolated, and then we made them be with the church family or near the church family and still feel isolated because they couldn't speak to them, they couldn't hang about, they couldn't have a coffee. So there's a real kind of balance that we've been on in terms of trying to listen to all of that, as well as thinking about the practicalities. And it's really interesting. It feels like for a year, what we had and what the in-person gathering was has completely stopped. We have birthed something completely new in terms of the online presence that we have, and we need to almost kind of slowly, we need to reopen the flower again, as it were. But what we have realised is that we have this dilemma in the sense of we still want to have an online presence because we've seen the way in which it has impacted people. We are still having, I reckon between 500, 600, 700 sometimes views across all the different digital platforms. We're wanting to cater for the demographic that still might not want to come back to in-person gatherings for a while. And we have, for a year, been working on something we've called our digital strategy, which has been all about how do we move from trying to film ourselves on little iPhones to actually having some quality recordings and editing. And obviously we've been filming worship, and that's been edited every week. And there's had to be a bit of a methodical thought process going on in the background, because whenever we do something in person, obviously there's lots of people that are involved in making that happen. So just to give you that kind of backdrop, what we have decided is that from April, so in just a few days.
John, do you want to show the? Do you want to show?
Yeah. Well, just hold on a second, James. Let me just say, and then we can pop out at the end.
Yeah, great.
We're saying because also the other thing to say is that St Albans officially, in terms of meeting places and Sovereign House, we closed the buildings, so they haven't been open. So from April, we are opening Sovereign House again, and we are opening St Albans, and that is in terms of the different groups that we run, and the different support groups can then start to meet in those places again. Also life groups, if they want to and they still want to stay together as a life group, you can also book to come to Sovereign House. If you don't want to do, Beryl's idea is amazing, because we really want to encourage as well in this interim time while we're walking this roadmap out. We'd love to see more happening in the small, and I know obviously lots of you are, but we're going to encourage that even more. Meals outside for 6, bring your own picnic, 6 people meeting outside, splitting up life groups. The crowd just said to me, so I met with Steve last week, and he was talking about, they're also talking about their life group and meeting in smaller numbers outside. But I really feel like we want to continue to do that as we move towards coming back to together in person on a bigger scale. The young people at some point soon, Ant is working out with his team another kind of roadmap as well, and the staff team will be kind of welcomed or encouraged, if they would like to come back into the office. Just to say as well that both buildings are COVID secure, and at the moment we still need to adhere to all those social distancing guidelines and hand san and face masks and all that kind of stuff. So James, you can pop it up if you want. So what's been going on in the background is we have also been we've had a fund in order to install all of the kit that we need into St Albans, so that we have the capability to live stream at some point in the future. A year ago, and less than a year ago, we didn't even have internet in St Albans, and we now have internet in St Albans. But we've also had to purchase lots of kit, and the install of the kit has been done amazingly by James and Michael, both of whom are part-time. So they've done an amazing job behind the scenes. I think what you can see on here is that we are at the moment, so from Sunday, we're pre-recording the full service from St Albans. And in doing that and actually having all this new kit, the production team, they need to work out all of the kinks, as it were, in the armour. So we're kind of trying to just regularly, every week, have all of the service filmed from St Albans, which, as you'll be aware before, we did little snippets where we were using a green screen and a little recording studio we had in the office, but we're wanting to move back towards it feeling more like a service, more like we're in the building, with a view that we will move from evenings, which is where we're at the moment, this 6 o'clock, to 10:30 on the 25th of April. And in the interim, we need to work really hard, and we are working really hard at working out who on Sunday teams wants to come to church, because we're also aware that there may still be people that don't want to come. And the kind of the caution in not us all just meeting together in person is partly because we've still got this digital strategy going on and we want to get to live streaming, but it's also that we need to re-recruit all of the teams so that we've got the people to be able to welcome people to church on a Sunday, and almost all the teams, and there's usually about 50 people needed in order to receive an in-person meeting on a Sunday, almost need to be trained in two kind of ways. One is kind of, when we can start meeting in person again, the COVID secure way of doing it, and also we need to retrain, or if they're new people on team, we need to train them, as if they've never been to church. And some people have joined the church and have never been to church. I mean, James, bless him, has been working so hard behind the scenes, and he joined us in the middle of all this. So he's done an amazing job to even try and build a team of people that can, film the service and help with sound and edit and all that kind of stuff. So we're looking to, by the 30th of May, live stream the service from St Albans, and we have talked a little bit about what we're trying to do is we'll invite people who are going to be serving on teams to the service. So it won't be that nobody will be in church. I know it says no congregation, but it won't be people booking to have a seat and all that kind of stuff. It will be teams that are coming. We have talked about possibly inviting maybe some of the life groups. But I suppose the caution was we also want to see if we're actually going to come out of lockdown properly, and we aren't just going to, I don't know, go back into another lockdown. James, you can pull that off. You can take that down now, mate. I think the other thing just to say is that at the moment, Michael has been working really hard to help us with all the technology that we have, and they're still recording at the moment, and Michael is there recording. But when we move back to a 10:30 service, we want everything to be working so Michael doesn't need to be there, because then Michael needs to be in kids, because he needs to be serving our amazing kids ministry. So looking at the current roadmap that Boris set out, we are hoping that by the 27th of June, so I think it's the 21st, that all the restrictions are going, is what he's saying. We can then have a kids provision and a youth provision, and people can come at 10:30. Because one of the tensions we've also had is that a lot of the families wouldn't necessarily come to a 10:30 service if obviously there's no kids or youth provision, and that's been really quite hard to work out. And for Michael, it's a massive task to get his team trained and ready so that we can receive children again, because there's I think there's 11 or 12 members of team that he has just on a Sunday. Well, if any of the guidelines stay in place, he's got an awful lot of work to do in terms of recruiting more team so that we can have kids in the building. And I don't know what that'll mean in terms of bubbles, etc. What we will do, and what we are going to do on the 23rd of May, James, you can pop this up, on the 20th of June, we're going to do encounter service, and we're going to do that from St Albans. At the moment, the service will have to be socially distanced, so it will be a bit like it was before in terms of people will have to wear masks. There won't be any singing, hospitality. People will have to, sit in the seat allocated, and people will have to be ushered out afterwards, unfortunately. And then we were going to do a family service on the 6th of June. Just to also say, we have also talked a lot, you can put that down now, James. We've also talked a lot about the actual site at St Albans, and possibly could we do some things outside? Well, until today, we weren't allowed to sing outside. And one of the things that we really wanted to do, lots of the feedback that we've had, is people want to worship. They want to worship together. And I've been told today, and I've just read up on the guidelines released today, is that you can now sing outside on a place of worship grounds. So we may well, we need to come back together again, and we need to talk about this, and we need to think about how we might do that, and maybe add some of those into this roadmap moving forward. So it might seem cautious. It is cautious, but it's also trying to do this with wisdom to make sure that everybody who is involved is competent in all of the new things that we're doing, but also it gives us an opportunity and time to maybe work out some of the smaller things that we really want to press into, like the meals for six. Sarah and maybe James or Michael, is there anything that I have missed out? Is there anything that you can think of that I haven't said that we've talked about?
No, that I was ticking all our notes, so I think that's everything. I think just to reiterate and kind of summarize what JT was saying, though, is we're in this funny thing where we have like two parts of our congregation, and so we want to honor the people who aren't comfortable coming back, and we also want to honor the people who are dying to come back, just like so excited to come back. And there's it's been such a hard tension, and we appreciate all your grace and all your prayers. I know a lot of you have been praying for us this whole time. This is kind of the best compromise and best way out and best way back that we've found. So
yeah, and I think our main hope really is that that June date, we will be able to come back and not be socially distanced, and until then we will still have a quality service that will be online. And then when we come back, we will all be able to gather, and I'm hoping that we are going to be able to sing and pray for one another and hug one another. It's given enough time to see if this is all panning out the way we really want it to be. But Sarah and I have also talked about what could it look like if we can sing outside on the premises. And now I know that we will talk about that, and we will come up with some plans. And
also just to say, John, thanks for your helpful summary. And just to say that we've realized that with our sort of planning and our digital strategy and our doing church online, we've realized that church online isn't going away. Like, it's such an amazing tool that we can use to reach the gospel and to reach those who are vulnerable. And so we're going to carry on doing that. And as you just said, John, when we come back to in-person services, or just before, we're going to start live streaming, and we're going to be able to hopefully do hybrid really well. So doing online and in-person services together to reach more people for Jesus, bring more people into our family, and continue to cater for those who can't come. So it's going to be great. And I think you summarized it really well, John. Thank you.